Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
there's
that.
some kind of weird lag. We're live.
We're live. Third Eye Salon. Are we live, or are we just that in between
Memorex
live?
live. Let me look.
Go look and see if our little faces are popping up.
Well, we are there. Let me look on mine.
Jillian, this is where you need to have an accordion and do a little song. If you could.
I will invest in one.
Thank
Just for
you.
this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are live.
All right, awesome. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Third Eye Salon. We are so happy that you are with us, whether you are a reoccurring customer or if you are brand new, we're so happy that you're here. And on Third Eye Salon, each and every week, we take a fresh look between the veils of reality. This week, I feel like this is such an important show. We're taking a fresh look between the veils of ancestral shamanism and how that is related to the religion of voodoo or Voudon. And it's going to be fun. We were having fun before we even started. So let's look and see who is in the salon today. Well, of course, it's Ms. Linda Coulter-Burge. Check out the do, rocking it so hard.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Loving it, having fun with my new do. So, I don't know. Comment if you like it, guys, because, I have a shallow ego.
She needs the reaffirmation.
I do. I need it.
Oh, wow.
I'm really excited to talk with Laura because I don't know a lot about this. And, you hear all of these crazy stories that, like everything, some's true, some's not. And there's so much deeper. And I just think it's so much richer than any of us actually understand. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us, Laura.
And yeah, thank you, Laura. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna also yeah, it's okay. Jillian, we want to make sure that we say hello to ETOBE Spirit and Kundalini Experiencer. Why it's only just Jillian Leonard. Hey, Jillian, the windswept look, rocking it so hard.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited. Just like Linda, I'm not too aware of all of this, so I'm so excited to learn and to listen to Laura, and I've been looking forward to it.
Awesome. Jillian invested in a wind machine so she could have this very glamorous effect. She's trying to up Linda on the glamour. And Laura came in and said, "You two look like supermodels." So immediately we have adopted her as Auntie Laura. She's a part of the family from the word go. Speaking of which, Laura, hey, we're so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us all the way from Tennessee.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm deeply honored to be on Third Eye Salon. It feels good to run around fellow aliens. You have a Black alien sister now. Hey.
We love it.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, before we get into talking with Laura about all of her stuff, we're going to, I got some, I forgot to introduce myself. Sorry about that. I'm Kat Udero. Most of you probably know me, but empath, entrepreneur, and psychic wrangler. So a little bit of housekeeping before we go into Laura's bio. So Linda is monitoring, or she's not monitoring, but she's engaging in on the chats. So she's live on the chat stream. And Linda has the power and privilege of also making sure if someone starts taking up volume and not being respectful and just sort of trying to co-opt the conversation, not gelling with us in terms of, you don't have to agree, but be respectful. So if those things are challenging for you, Laura, or rather Linda will give you a couple of warnings and then lovingly remove you. We have our description
After 400 years, I can handle anything.
I simply, my rule, play nice or get out. So.
Play nice or get out. That's how Linda says it. It's much more succinct. So,
yes, ma'am.
So we also have our description box below, of course, with our links. So we've got Laura's link down there to her website. We've got our Facebook event page. We'd love for you to join the event page and our Facebook group, where we have just engaging conversations and a lot of fun during the week and building up to each of the shows. So it's great. It's a great community, very loving. And then we also have a link for you to go ahead and purchase us a coffee. We have so many people who've already donated, and we just thank you for that donation. We thank you for your love. We thank you for the support. And you are welcome to, give us a tip in our coffee cup and give us some love. And that's awesome for everybody. Helps support the show. So we also, of course, encourage you to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, make sure that you're part of this YouTube channel, so that way you don't miss out on anything that's going on, and share our content to those people that you think would really benefit from it. All right, so let us get into this. Laura Djakpa is an international spiritual guide and ancestral shaman. She is gifted with a powerful, awakened third eye and strong spiritual awareness. Laura's divine sight and psychic abilities allow her to gaze into the unseen depths of the different spiritual realms from the past, present, and future. She is a true visionary. Laura's soul entered this world with a powerful mission to heal and bring balance and harmony to those destined to encounter her on their life's journey. She has been embraced by many exceptional people of varied cultures and backgrounds. Laura has visited many international locations, absorbing the beauty of Mother Earth and honoring the sacred lands. These experiences have heightened her spiritual senses and provided her with the skills to nurture and empower others. Seated beside the wise elders and ancient universal energies, Laura taps into a divine higher consciousness in an effort to assist those who desire spiritual growth and healing. She focuses deeply on addressing the condition of the spiritual body and mind. She uses personal spirit guides and meditation to assist in conquering negative influences from the past. And so we have a couple more credentials here. Laura's credentials include remote viewing certification from the Monroe Institute located in Virginia, and intermediate mediumship certification from the Metaphysical Resource Center in New Orleans, or Nolans, as someone say. I don't say that. I don't say that, but I don't think I have the privilege to say it that way. Laura's books include Left Hand of the Vagina, Goddess of the Misfit Amazon. Jillian tried to look that book up online and got a lot of really interesting results that she was not anticipating. But these books can be found on Laura's website. The Left Hand of the Vagina, then also her other book, The Left Hand of the Vagina, Balsamic Moon Voyager, not Vinegar, Voyager, Balsamic Moon Voyager. Both books speak of Laura's personal life challenges and spiritual growth. And we were talking about Laura's books in our pre-show chat, where it's kind of like Laura coming into her own and kind of venting and releasing all of this BS that she that wasn't her, that she took on as her, and her, going through the pain and anger of coming out into your own power. Would you say that's accurate, Laura, about your books?
Yes. Yeah, it's been a journey, a powerful journey. And it's not for everyone. It takes people a long time to go within, because remember, the status quo programs you to think and to live and to believe a certain way. And when you step outside that, that's when you go on a journey.
Yeah, well said, well said. So everyone, as you're watching, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, give us some love, give us a like if you are interested in demystifying the religion of voodoo. It's got a lot of crap thrown on top of it that is not voodoo and not about voodoo, and it has a lot of it's been demonized a lot. And so, but we're going to talk about the good, bad, beautiful, the ugly, the scary, all of it today, because it's all there. So Laura, what I wanted to start with, though, I kind of wanted everyone to get to know you first, just on a personal level, because you are so warm and you are so just so present and loving. So I'd like for people to know how you got to this place, because you had a really super rough start, and just like being on the main streets, not being received, not being cared for, and having to figure out how to become your own parent and your own goddess. So tell us a little bit about your origin stories, if you don't mind.
So it's not, sometimes we want to blame our parents, but we really can't blame our parents. They do the best they can. As you get older, you start to learn they had a journey too. And we don't learn about their journey till we get older and you start to communicate more. A person has to now take charge of what they've been through and not blame anybody else, and look within and find out why that dynamic happened. It takes time. You can get a chart done. You can find out what happened with family. As you discover yourself, you're going to have to make major decisions about becoming your best healer. It's very difficult. It's challenging. It's a journey, because to fall in love with yourself, it's not everybody can do it. It takes a long, long time. You have to want it bad enough in your soul. You got to feel it. You have to walk away from everything that you thought you knew and understood to go on your life and really take charge of that. It's difficult and painful, very painful.
Mm-hmm. I think it can be, in terms of letting go of things that were your kind of your false security blankets, or the rage that can become part of your identity, like all these things that we identify with that really aren't necessarily who we are, and the truth and the beauty and the healing lies beneath it. The pain's calling for our attention. So
Yeah.
you kind of discovered that you realized that you were psychic in your 20s and 30s, but did you want to give us a little kind of a history of, like, again, kind of more of your origin and those details about your ascent, I would say?
I started playing with it, and I worked in like clubs and bars and stuff when I was very young. And you had to sell drinks. You had to sell drinks to make the money and that type of thing. And people would sit down, and they had the little candles, little red candles they had in the clubs back in the old days, the little red candles. I would take their palm. I started to read their palm, and all of a sudden, I didn't realize I was telling the truth. And they'd go, oh, and they'd be drinking. I'd be selling the drinks, and go, oh my gosh, especially with men. You tell a man anything. Oh, you're gonna make $1 million with your deal. And, oh, really? You so it was. So then, that's how I started it. But I didn't realize what I was playing with. I had no idea that I was playing with some things, and I didn't take it seriously. It got dangerous later on as I stepped out of that and got into other things and was going from one end of spiritual stuff to the other. I started getting into some dangerous waters.
You started getting into what? There's a little bit of a lag.
Into dangerous waters.
Dangerous waters. Okay.
I started playing with magic in a very negative way, not to hurt anyone, but for my own personal gain, not knowing what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have anybody properly guiding you on what you're doing, all kinds of stuff will start coming through, dreams, things happening to you and to others. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to really, really be careful. And me being young, not knowing any better, I just took it off, But I paid a heavy price for it, heavy price for it. And that's what I like people to know. Look before you leap. Be very, very careful. And no matter what path of magic you're on, it's not a game. It's not a game.
Yeah. And I think that, you told me that you had become suicidal at one point, and that became the thing that's kind of this wake up thing of, like, you can't keep down this negative path. Do you want to speak to a little bit of that again, just so we can kind of know you and get to feel you as a person? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because when you're young and you're in a very dark space, and you feel as if you can't trust anybody, you can't talk to anybody, nobody's there for you. It's that alone feeling. And if you're drinking a lot of alcohol and you're partying, your mind can go into a very dark space,
mm-hmm.
And coming out of that, sometime every now and then, a little light will come, or a person to say, wait a minute, you need to rethink about what you're doing. And you get so depressed, you don't want to be there anymore. You just say, forget it, because you're in that dark space. And that's how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come out of that. It wasn't easy.
So then how did ancestral shamanism and Voudon, how were they a catalyst for you to come into who you really are and kind of acknowledge your gifts in a way that was respectful, and not just like, oh, look what I can do, ha ha ha, like how did that pull you out of that, or did it?
I started giving readings just on the side. I met a priest who was a practitioner of the path of Palo Mayombe. He was telling me about the spirits that was dealing with me, et cetera, et cetera. And then from that, I went to a priest who was a Babalao for Ifa. So it was stages. I went through stages of different paths to get to where I am now. Because I was in a dangerous environment, and because my mental state was not balanced, it took a long, long time for me to really get myself together. And I'm not ashamed of it. And I checked myself into a mental hospital. I had I had an emotional breakdown, just an emotional breakdown. I went in for the weekend, they give you some good drugs, you sleep for 48 hours, you come back, whoa, and that's, and then I started getting professional counseling because I needed the professional counseling to get myself together to deal with reality.
Yeah.
And then you get into the spiritual stuff. So it was in stages when I started to grow.
Okay.
It took time.
And I think that's very relatable. And I think that people would probably find the blood and guts of your journey in your two books. I would think that you were able to express that shift and transformation and the release and rebirth within those books. That's my intuitive sense of that. So we're going to have to define some terms as we go, because you're going to be using terms like Babalawa, which I can barely say until I get used to it. But like things like that, where it's like,
Baba.
But things like that.
Babalawo.
Babalau. So like, there's things like that where it's like, it's like a foreign language to me and probably to a lot of our viewers. So it's like, well, we'll have to do some definitions. And I want to catch you because you'll be like, oh, they talked to me about the spirits who are with me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, wait, that's like, those are the, like, who are the spirits that are with you? So we want to get into those details. We want to really understand. So that's just kind of my preface. Excuse me, my voice has gone all gravelly. So let's do this. Let's identify some of the terms like an Ifa and Voudon, I believe is another word, an Orisha.
Okay.
Some of the words I got.
Okay, let me start from one end. The first thing I got involved is called Palo Mayombe, which is considered dark magic or heavy duty spiritual magic. Palo Mayombe, Paleros, and then there's Santeros who work with the Orishas. That's a lot of Santeria. That's like a section called Santeria. I got into that. Now into Ifa, it's all a big family. The Orishas are like, they're like the African saints.
Okay.
They're like the African version of saints.
Okay.
The 7 African powers, Shango, Ogun, Ochosi, Yamanya. Each one of them are a representation of a element: water, air, the earth, fire. And if you go to a Babalawo, that's a head priest in the Ifa part of the religion. A Babalawo does a life path divination of who is defending you on your journey. It could be a water spirit, it could be a male god, a fire god, one of those types. And they each have different names, they have legends and stories, but each section is different, but yet family. And everybody's life path could fall into the spiritual part or the Orisha part. The Orisha is the saint. The spirit is the ancestral ones that are working with you. So it can get complex, but it's like a big tree with many branches. In South America, in Brazil, they call it candomblé. And then in the Caribbean, you have the 21 divisions. And then you also have Santeria. And then you have Ifa, which is all over the world. So it's the same tree, but different branches, because through colonialism after Africa, when it spread throughout the world, different chapters formed, different divisions, different sections. It's from a big tree with many branches.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'll probably, just so kind of a heads up, I'll probably occasionally stop you and say, oh, what's that word mean again? Or, you know what I mean? So that way we can stay with you if that's cool. Just because we're learning from you. You are our teacher today. So, yeah. And then I want to talk about also just if you can kind of define, well, is there a difference between ancestral shamanism and what's the religion of voodoo? Are they one and the same?
Oh, a little bit. In Haiti, they have the Hugan, the Hungans. They're very powerful priests and priestesses.
Okay.
That do the tribal voodoo, which is connected also with Africa, and they speak French. And also, me being an ancestral shaman, I help people get started by just getting a connection, by having a little sacred place for their ancestors and not rushing into anything else. That way they can get started on connecting and taking their time and going very, very slow so they can have a little help from the other side, a little guidance, and not rush into something that may not be for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it can get overwhelming.
Well, and what I also got from my talk with you is that you're very much about empowerment, where people who come to you, as opposed to you being the, voodoo priestess or ancestral shaman. I'm, if those terms are interchangeable, if they're not, please correct me. But they're not coming to you as like, it's like you're not doing the thing of like, solve my problem, give me a spell to la la la.
No.
You're like, no. You need to take your own healing into your own life. And I'm going to give you the steps to create a connection with the divine, is what I saw from the work.
Yes. Learn hard lessons from the past, from that type of stuff. And it didn't turn out well. Now, I want them to say, wait a minute, what can I do to better my situation on their own? And what steps they can take on their own, and to take their time. You can't rush it. It takes time. You have to have patience with them, and then patience with themselves to have the connection so they can move forward.
Yeah, I think that's true in terms of really giving people permission to have their own rate in which they heal. So let's talk about also then what is root work versus hoodoo versus voodoo, if you don't mind breaking that down for us.
Okay, hoodoo has been around a long time. It's like the cousin or the birth child from voodoo. Root work deals with the herbs, natural things, whatever was available in the kitchen. You didn't have everything you needed, but you worked with what you had. You have your conjures, you have your John the Conqueror root, that type of thing. You have your herbs and teas, things of that nature, things from certain trees and certain plants where they made the medicines or the spiritual baths. Voudon is the big mama, and everything after that is the children.
So these are kind of like hybrid religions that were offshoots. They're kind of like offshoots.
Yes. Through the slave trade, everything spread out, and things were created after that. Let me give you an example. The Catholic Church had people that will go see the people in the jungles or in the villages for business reasons, or your pirates will go get a reading. But if the church people came in for an inquisition, they took the Catholic saint and hid it behind an African saint. So they would not see the actual African thing behind it. So then you had Santeria come. Because if you were found out, you were hung, you got killed.
Wow.
So you had to be very, very careful what you did in those days, especially on plantations. You had to be very careful. So you had to adapt to Catholicism at the time. Even though the bloodline was of the ancestral path, you had to make sure that you hid stuff behind things that were religious so you wouldn't be found out.
Yeah.
And if you piss somebody off, they go tell someone, then they killed,
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so intense. Okay. So I also want to let's talk a bit about the history with the Haitian islands, with Haiti being invaded and people being, I don't know, millions, I think, of people being stolen from their lives and brought to the Americas and elsewhere as property. And this is so this horrific past is also an origin point of voodoo coming into this world, or that religion being born. Isn't that right? It was like, tell me about the birth of voodoo.
Always been around in Africa. It's been around. Every indigenous nation all over the world has their indigenous tribal practices, whether it be from Australia, over there, South Americans, the Native Americans, they have their tribal rites of passage that is passionate to them. But during the slave trade, Haiti has had such a powerful journey, but they're free. Have they been through trials and stuff? I mean, they've suffered, of course. They've been through so much, but yet the voodoo lives on. They have the churches all over the place, but it lives on. despite what happens on the island, it's not going anywhere because it's in their blood and they have faith that they're going to survive whatever ordeal is coming. As the Americas concerned, it's spread out. And remember, from New Orleans, the port of call, all they wanted to do, they wanted the beatings to stop. They wanted the hangings to stop. They just wanted somebody to be nice to them. So whatever they can do to try to get some kindness, whatever worked, hopefully. And that's all really, they wanted the beatings to stop. But they conformed to Christianity because they had no choice. Either Jesus or die. They had nothing against Jesus, but it was better to conform to survive than to fight the system that you weren't going to win. You just weren't going to win. So it went underground.
Yeah, and
It went underground.
That makes sense. I just want to pause real quick. Linda, did you have any questions so far, or Jillian, before I continue? Because I've got a whole path that I'm jogging down.
I had one quick question. What are the 7 elements? This is real basic, but what are the 7 earth elements? I can think of 6, but I can't think of the 7th.
Well, the only ones that I know of with me is earth, air, water, and fire. That's the only ones that I identify with. And to me, that's just the basic one that I would start with for me. Anything else could be from other things, the basics for me. I don't know if there's other 7. I'm now calling 7 African powers. Those were Orishas. You had Obatala, Shango, Yamiya, Ochosi, Ogun, St. Lazarus, and I think there was another one. But they started creating them to keep them in a saintly Catholicism, Christianity mode, so it would not deviate to anything dark or African or Voudon or magic. They had to have the Catholic, okay, we still love Jesus, but we have his saints. They put these names here, and then we're going to change this and that, from Santa Barbara to Chango or whatever the person's name was, but they covered it and created a whole new religion from it. Now they have classes, there's schools, everything,
Wow. Yeah. I'm thinking of how, Christianity took over Celtic ceremonies and dates to bring them into the fold.
Yes.
And in a different way, you guys not changed, but morphed your beliefs to hide within the system that maintain your beliefs. So it's almost a twist of that whole thing.
Oh yeah. And well, look what happened with the Catholic Church and the Celtic system. They built Catholic churches on top of sacred pagan sites.
Yes.
Right on top of their sites. They burn the incense. They have their idols right there. And then they have the Celtic ones. And
Exactly.
That's so true. That's so true.
Exactly. And I'm thinking what happened to Native Americans and them having to be forced into schools to get rid of the Native in them and get rid of the faith, and how to this day their struggle to keep that alive within the faiths there and keep the traditions alive.
I love the Native Americans. I had the honor of meeting a Sioux and went to a Sundance, I tell people, respect other people's journeys. We don't all have to agree, but be respectful. Don't throw a stone and put your hand behind your back, just because you don't agree with it and you have personal issues with someone. Be respectful, stay in your lane and keep moving. The Native Americans, what they went through was horrid. horrible. And I understand. And so that's why I respect all indigenous groups all over the world, because they're still here and they're hanging in there.
Yeah.
They're hanging there. And the Celtics too. I love the Celts and the Norse over there in the Viking land over there, rock on, hey, what do you think?
And that brings me to a question of, with your practices, what draws you so strongly to, or what does it give to you that you want to share with people? What is that essence that you gain from participating in it?
Oh man, they gave me They gave me a second chance on life. To just be. To just be.
That's huge. I'm glad.
Yeah. And to fall in love with myself as a human being. Am I perfect? No. Do we fall short from grace? Of course. But to be here and now, to honor what has happened in the past, the lessons I've learned on the journey, and to be able to move forward and hoping other people will go into themselves and not get into anything of nonsense, other people's stuff and this and that, and go into themselves so they can become their own best healer and at least have a little bit of love, food and shelter, and a little bit of happiness in their life. Just a little bit. That's it. That's all I need.
It's beautiful. And when you were talking earlier, one thing that came to my mind is it doesn't matter what the faith is, what the religion is, what the personal beliefs are. They can be used for light or for dark. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the person expressing that in the world.
That's right. And the energy, what you do with your energy, what you do with your energy is up to you. But remember, the unseen world has lots of patience. And one must be careful with light and shadow. To me, if you have these gifts of spirit and talent and light and working and helping people, don't waste your time on nonsense. Don't get caught up in the personal issues with stuff. Use your gifts to help those who need somebody to talk to, who need a friend or some kindness. Wasting your precious gift on nonsense is worthless because you're going to need that energy if something jumps out of somewhere and try to come hurt you. You need that energy. Wasting it on nonsense makes no sense. You know, they take magic. They take magic. Well, I don't like this person. I can't stand her, so I'm going to throw something at this person. And then they'll blame everybody else when they create their own situation and say that person threw something on me. That's the excuse to use magic to hurt somebody that just can't stand them. Really?
How do you define magic?
Ooh, good question.
My goodness. Ooh, magic is the air, the trees, the earth, the birds, every animal and creature, the sun, moon, and stars. Existence itself is magic.
And how do you call on it?
And when you deal with it, and when you deal with magic, you are standing at the altar of your existence. Use it well.
Wow.
And let it be a light to others who live in darkness.
Standing at the altar of your existence. I'm going to write that down. That's such a good phrase. Standing at the altar. Did you have another question, Linda, or should we pass it over to Miss Jillian?
Let's pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are great questions.
No, I don't have any questions particular, but I just love your whole intake on everything of that, you know, we have to come into ourselves to bring this power out and our own power out. We can't go to somebody, whether it's a sound practitioner, whether it's a Reiki practitioner, anybody, and get results without it coming from our own inner strength. And I just love the way that you've explained that. I also love that you were mentioning, you know, it's not, this stuff does take time. It takes time to develop. It takes time to work with, you know, the energies and how they work with your own system and to really create, you know, the best environment that you can in order to bring these gifts that are innately inside of everyone, but up to the surface to be able to spread the light. And I just want to say, like, I am so loving this conversation. And I can't think of a better person to learn this stuff from than someone who actually, you know, does it and lives it, as opposed to, you know, watching a video or reading a book. And I'm just soaking it all in.
There's many avenues now. They have classes out there now that teach you the Yoruba faith. They have centers and schools.
Oh, no.
Organizations now,
Okay,
and get a feel and see which route you want to go. You know, there's a song that's a country western song. It goes, know when to fold them, know when to hold them, know when to run. Yes, you hear that song, that's like magic. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to run. Remember that, you know.
Yes.
Those are the basic things. Know when to back up, know when to walk away, you know. You have to
Mhm.
think about things. This is, I'm not, or say, I'm not comfortable with this. If you're not comfortable with something, listen, be honest about it. Say, you know, I'm not comfortable with that. Is there any other method we can choose? You know, if something's being done you're not comfortable with, ask questions. Am I going to be safe there? Do I really need to do this? You know, ask questions. Remember, in every background, there's predators all over the world, in every background, every belief system.
Yep.
You have to be
Absolutely.
careful who you are sharing your essence with. So they're everywhere. It happens, and be careful. You know, you're not going to say, okay, can I leave my daughter there with you for the ceremony? Can I come back and pick her up? You know, can I leave my little boy there with you? Yeah, you know.
Right.
Remember, at the churches, go to mass and do whatever the priest tells you to do. And then 20 years later, Father Bob was doing what? Father James was doing what? You know, so wherever you go, see if you're going to be safe. Ask questions. If you're not comfortable with something, ask the questions and say, you know, I'm not comfortable with this, but thank you very much, and go.
Right.
And don't get into the personal stuff. Don't get into that causes more bad energy and more conflicts than needed.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't like you or what you're into. Thank you. Wish them well. Keep going. Keep moving. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
It's too sacred. Your precious time and your existence on this journey, it's too sacred. It's too precious. Don't waste it on the nonsense. Keep moving.
So thank you. And so I want to kind of get into the whole, just with my little really informal research. I just kind of wanted to break down some things here as well. Because you're teaching from such a place of, it's got such a high vibration. Your teachings have such a high, loving, nurturing vibration. And a lot of, what I understand with voodoo, and when I tune into it as well, it's like there's root work, and I think we need to speak about what root work is and how it's used or how it's connected. But when I'm tuning into the voodoo thing, it's like it's so connected to what we call Gaia, the planet. It feels so deeply connected, and that it's energy that's being pulled up from the earth, which is why it's so powerful, is because it's primal. It's primal magic. It's primal magic is what I'm tuning into.
Extremely, yes.
And it was interesting because you were saying to me the other night when we were talking, you were saying, well, I'm a primal person and you're a primal person too. You're primal too. And I was like, oh,
Very
like
primal.
it's, and so it's, but I wasn't getting it until this conversation right now. So what is primal magic, which is what voodoo is, the religion built around primal magic? I feel like I'm just tapping into this. Would you say that's accurate?
Well, remember, primal magic is nature's magic.
Okay.
Anything with nature is primal.
Yes. So what is root work and what is primal? How does that involve voodoo?
Okay. Root work is considered that anything with certain stones, certain herbs. One famous root was called John the Conqueror root. There's a few of them that I can't think of right now, but some of them were used to put in certain places or put in certain homes, or the name of someone had to be engraved in it, and you had to wrap it in a certain cloth, and then you had, if the moon was at a certain position in the moon, it would have to sit under the moon for so many days or put in the ground for so many days and then dug up again for it to have an effect. Now, each person has a different method on what they work with certain roots, but when they say that in the community, oh, that person's Rudy. Yeah, Rudy meant don't trust them because they do root work. Or they're the devil. Oh, she Rudy now. The whole family Rudy now. When you hear that in the communities, that means the person does voodoo or whatever.
Means a person what?
The church people they roots. And the church people call a root people. They say they Rudy. Oh, she Rudy now. The whole family Rudy. So they say that they're demons and the witchcraft and voodoo. Watch out,
so they're using it as a derogatory.
Yes, very derogatory. Yeah, they're cursing you and they're damning you and they're demonizing you. Now, there were some people that did some heavy duty magic. Now, some of those, there was some stuff that was going on throughout history that was people. Okay, example, They have juke joints in the old Mississippi, the Delta juke joints and the old jazz joints in the, over in the swamp areas and stuff, And some of the drunk men that would be traveling on the road would go want to get a female, and she would put a root on him so he can come back and continue to take care of her. Stuff like that. They would, knowing that he was a drunk and that he had lots of money, because guys from the big cities and the jazz players and the juke joint people and the blues and jazz players, they traveled a big circuit, and they would get with one female, and she liked that man. He wasn't thinking about her. He may have like some kids somewhere else in St. Louis somewhere, but she would go to the root lady, give him his name, prepare something. Okay, when he come to the back room, and when you are sexing this person, this is what you do. And sure enough, every time he come back to that same person, and she give her bills paid, feed the kids, give them shoes, food, and everything else. There was some stuff, the heavy duty stuff, and he had no idea. And this is why men to this day, their mothers teach them, watch out for the root women, watch out for those women, because they will get you, they will tie you up. They call it like a binding, or they'll tie you. Why can't you leave her? Well, she got him tied up, or she got him rooted up. Those were the sayings they would say in those days. And to this day, there are families who tell their sons and daughters not to go to certain places or deal with certain types because of the root work to this day.
But
So how would you know? How would you know if you were?
Well, some people are paranoid about it, but if men are always going to be men.
Okay.
Woof.
There's nothing changed since the men been here, right? Lily's trying to get her thing going on, but men, they go do their thing.
Certain kinds of men.
Their families.
Certain kinds of men.
Right. Not all men, but certain types of men.
Yeah.
And anytime a man starts doing something, he changes. And when he changes and becomes someone else, they say somebody got a root on him. Or that woman down there, she put something on him. Now he just was growing up and wanted to sow his oats some more. Some men like different types of things. And they'll say, well, she got voodoo, she had voodoo on him. She put a root on him. She may have done anything. He just wanted to have more than one type of sex. So when he changes, they say it's.
I'm thinking of the song Love Potion number 9.
Yeah. 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 Oh yeah. And they'll tell the family, don't leave your shaving. When you shave. Yeah, there's men that have little Ziploc bags. And if they have an extra woman on the side, when they shave, they will take their shaving and put it in the Ziploc bag so she won't gather it. And they'll put it in his pocket. Or if they go shower, right, they make sure none of their skin or hair is in the tub, because they don't want that woman to tie them to it. I'm telling you.
So is it actually like spells that are being cast? Is it intention within the elements?
Yes. Any element of a person's skin, hair, anything they touched, a toothbrush, a washcloth, anything that they had their body on is considered the essence of the person. Their energy is in it.
Well, so that's kind of the dark side of voodoo and root work, but root work can also be used for positive as well, I would assume. Root work is neutral. It's neutral.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yes, it's neutral. It's neutral. Yeah. It's like a dial on the clock. You turn it to nightshade, you turn it to morning,
Yeah, light or dark.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
When you use it, in whichever form you use it, can you give an actual example of what that looks like? We have a lot of confusion.
I don't do the dark stuff. I do love making protection. I like protection packets for people, especially if they work in dangerous environments. I like something for a man to wear if he works in a dangerous environment. If they're officers or if they're working with criminals or people who are violent, I like to give them something that they can use for their energy to have a shield, like a protection shield. And that way they're balanced, they can handle themselves and not get caught off guard.
And I like that aspect of it. A combination of elements and intention that creates that?
It's really good to use. Lodestone is good. And you can put some rosemary in there, some other herbs in there, certain little gemstones, and you compact it and you sit it for certain amounts of days under a new moon, and you get it, and you get like a velvet cloth or a silk cloth, and you put it together, and you can do it with the person. That when they come, I tell them how to make their own, or I'll tell them what they can purchase, and they can come and I say, that's how you make it, so they can do it themselves. You know, I like for people to have protection because there's so much stuff out there, you know. But the
Is
other
that so
stuff, it's a
it would
headache.
have their own energy in it? Is that why you do that? Like because it's coming from them
Yes.
and having their own energy?
Yes, I like them to come when it's
Yeah.
just getting started, so they can finish it and take it with them. Yeah. Yeah. It's easier that way for them, you know. And they deal with people who are, some people deal with people who are underhanded or shady or negative, or, you know, and they want to be able to go to their job or whatever, or their place of work, whether it be undercover or whatever they're doing, and then they can go home and take a spiritual. I tell them, learn how to make spiritual baths. They don't have to all be the same, but cleanse your aura, cleanse your spirit. Some people go to the woods and take baths. You know, those are my favorite, going out into the elements and doing it. You know, or they can make their own. And I love for people to learn how to, okay, this month I'll take this type of bath. Next month it'll be a gemstone bath. This month a flower bath. Just take their time and get a feel of what they need. And you can cleanse your energy. You can do it on your own, you know. And you keep yourself balanced. Keep yourself in, you can navigate through crap better, you know, through all the stuff out there. You can navigate better and know what you said, you know what, I'm not dealing with that. Go. Or if you have to face a situation, you're not caught up in the energy where it's going to affect you and you can't function for a month, you know?
So I want to talk more about that in terms of what it looks like. I want to talk about voodoo in general, and kind of go through the different aspects of voodoo and break them down in terms of what we know as Westerners, so you can kind of give us more context for it. And then I would also like to know, but like Linda was like wanting to hear what you do when your rituals, like what do you do? And you've given us some ideas, but like, because voodoo's got like, you know, it's like there's you can use animal blood, you can use human blood, like there's a lots of things that within voodoo's like range, right? So what are the elements that you use and how do you use them? Like if like another example of somebody that you're comes to you with an issue and they're like,
I like meditation. I like meditation. I like for people to get close to nature. A simple walk in nature can do wonders. A simple walk in nature. Sitting on your back porch or walk along by the river, sitting by water.
But are these,
you have to connect with the divine.
But what are you doing though? Like, what do you do when you help somebody? Like, what are the practices that you do, as opposed to telling them?
What I'll do, I'll give them a reading. You know, I have a little tarot deck, and I'll give them a reading or just something natural, and see where they stand. To see what I feel, and if it's something simple they can do for themselves, I'll say, you know something. Take pen and paper, write this down, go to the health food store and buy these herbs, you know, steam them or drink a tea. So, but the heavy duty stuff, some people have to, I give them time to think about it first. I say, let's wait 3 or 4 months or 6 months. If you're ready, if you want to come back, we'll do something to get things going or to clear some things. It depends on the circumstance. And I let them think about it first. Now, if it's something that I don't want to dwell in, I'll refer them to somebody else. I'll refer them out to somebody else. Because there's some things that I'm not going to do. I'm not afraid to say, no, I'm not doing it. I say, no, I'm not doing it. But I know somebody that might be able to help you, tell them I sent you.
Well, it sounds like you're, in terms of what you do, it really is, this seems not really as, it's got its foundation in voodoo, but it's not really like, you don't really do traditional voodoo things. You're more of like working with them as a spiritual guide, it feels like.
Now, remember, when I go to events, I go pay my respects in that element. I'll go give an offering, I'll bring flowers and say, I came to pay my respects to everyone. I say hello to everyone, and then I go. When I'm in that element, I pay my respects to that energy at that time. But with me, I developed a method that works better for me, for those
Yeah.
who are coming to me.
Okay, and that's what I'm getting is that you've really made it into your own practice, which
Yes.
really follows your empowerment theme of like not getting stuck in somebody
Yeah.
else's.
Right.
Because
Yes.
I know that like voodoo is very patriarchal as
It
well,
is.
and you know, so there's some things that you tip your hat to, as it were, but it's not your personal value system.
What I value of the journey is the morphing into the new life. And each divinity that's being respected at that particular time, I will pay my respects to, because I know the power of it, and I will honor and give the respects from my heart. But I won't get involved with the personal issue stuff with people. I'm not that. I'm not about that. I'm about giving respects to the situation, the circumstance, and then I go on my way. You know,
Okay.
I chose the path I wanted to walk with it.
Okay, that gives us a better framework for you in terms of your specific work. And in terms of, I still want to like to kind of, if you go through, do you mind kind of just being our teacher and guide on
No.
voodoo regardless and educating us?
I don't
Okay.
mind. I don't mind at all.
So talk about the Orishas and how the Orishas are also the saints, correct? They're
Right,
like,
yes, the African, the gods, the African gods, yes.
Would you break-
Now listen, there are many of them. There are many.
Okay.
Each section of the diaspora internationally, there are many, but they narrow it down to like a few. Like the Dominicans, they have the 21 divisions, and then
Whoa.
Puerto Rico is Santeria, and then and also Ifa, and Cuba is a mixture of everything.
Okay.
The thing about it is each Orisha or each divinity, in Haiti, they call them the Loa. In Africa, the divinity. It could be the same person, but a different name that covers one area.
Okay.
Because they speak different languages.
Right.
But each of you will be an Orisha, you know? I will call you Yaminya, and I will call you Oshun, and I will call you Ochosi, you know, and I can be Shango, the fire. Each of those divinities will represent us in a particular element.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit more. That's a little confusing. So each of the Orishas, which are African gods, are they
Yes,
aligned?
and they represent a certain element.
They do represent, each of them are aligned to a certain element. So there could be several.
Yes, some live in the, yes.
Some are fire, some are earth, some are air, the rest are water.
Water, yes, and some represent the forest, some represent the river, some represent the sea, some represent the earth. Each of them have a different purpose, yeah, as an element. And then each of them have their own story and background and wisdoms and teachings, what they represent.
And so when you go to see, I'm not going to say the right word for like a babalawo.
A babalawo.
Babalawo, God help me. So when you go to see a high priest, and they're helping you sort out who is on your team, then they'll say, "Oh, this Orisha I got your back. This Orisha is looking out for you."
Yes. Now the babalawo, Ifa, they consult with one of the Orishas called Orula. And the babalawo is very, very sacred and highly respected. So this is why when I go into that environment, I give respect to the babalawo and his house of that particular path.
Yeah.
Come bring the offerings. They have rules, they have salutes, they have handshakes, they have things that they do that I give respect to. Mm-hmm. When the babalawo talks to you, your life is not going to ever be the same.
Mm. And why is that?
There's reasons why you cross paths with people who have something to do with that, because maybe one of your ancestors may have met with one in their lifetime, because he's doing when he sits down with you, he's going to, from your birth to now, about what journey you're on and who is coming forward on your journey, whether it be spiritual thing, an ancestor, or which guardian is going to come for you. And once you see a babalawo, your life is not ever going to be the same. That's how deep it is. Now, there are other people who can do the stuff with saints too. But when you go to that Ifa path, that particular road, it's like the main thing of the belief system, you're not going to be the same. You're not going to be the same.
Is it because, and you're not the same because when you speak to the Babalawa, priest, that it's
Yes.
that they are kind of giving you a life reading, and all the pieces finally click into place, and you're like, holy beep 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 beep, you know, this is actually what my
Yes.
whole thing is about. And
Yes.
it kind of tears the veil away, and you're able to see what you're doing, your issues, and that's why it changes your life. Is that right? Okay. I'm just tuning into it.
Okay, example. My Babalawo lives in Africa, in the jungle. And my first time in the jungle, it's like going to another planet. Going to the jungle, cultural shock, another world, another planet, a third world country, etc., etc. And here's this priest ripping through my soul.
Wow.
Ripping through my soul. So I had to take a deep breath. I had to get a break. And I'm in an environment which I've never been exposed to before. And I've never been the same since. Now, I've dealt with Babalawos in the past over the years. But now my mentor in Africa is the one who I would deal with. And my life has never been the same since I went to Africa. Never been the same. My life changed 360. 360. And now, me doing this, he mentioned it. He said, you're going to be on a different path with people you'll be guiding to. You're teaching people how to become their own best healer, how to take care of themselves.
So now, as a white boy, can I go see a Babalawa, or would they be like, no, you're not part of this religion?
Sure. Do you know there's a woman in Africa, she's one of the top voodoo queens in the world, Mama Tumbo. They fly from all over the world to see her. And she's a highly respected, Voudon priest. And there are many white voodoo, Ifa priests. Now there's a white boy in Daytona. It's called the Ifa Foundation. And he's a heavyweight Babalawo.
Oh, really?
He's a white boy. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In Daytona.
See, I would have thought that.
Oh, yeah. There are many Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, all cultural races. And there's lots of more white ones coming up now too.
I guess because this is how I've perceived it, is that voodoo is like a primal religion, and that it is so connected to the blood and to your ancestry, that it seems like those, like my understanding was that those people, and this could be a belief system and not a truth, but the people with the most magical kick with the magical access, are the ones who have the most direct blood ancestry. Would you disagree with that?
Well, it depends. Remember, there's past life stuff involved with this too now.
Oh, good call. Good call.
This past life, I've met many Caucasians who knew that they were an African American or something in that path in another life. And they didn't want anybody to know. I've met Caucasian women who went to Africa, to different places on tour, or they were for a business or company or whatever, and didn't want to come back to America. They said, I know this place. I've met African American women who knew they were pagan and Wiccan.
Yeah.
And who were Celtic. And they had fairies in their house, little fairies, and they had Bridget and the little God. And they feel it and they knew it. So there's past life issues in every aspect. That's a big factor, So there's white Babalawos. They come and listen. I was in Africa. I saw a Chinese voodoo priest from China, a Chinese voodoo man, and he goes to the Voudon festivals every year. And he's Chinese.
That's awesome.
So
I love
anytime you connect with something, it's for you. Like Miss Collier, you know, now I want to be mindful and respectful. You know, I know there's boundaries, but ancient Egypt, you know, ancient Egypt, and, you know, and you and her too, like the Vikings, you know, Celtic, you know, the Scotland, all that stuff, you know, the ancient way of the priestess who was the equal of the male priests, the equals. In some cultures, the woman was as equal to the man. You know,
Oh yeah.
You understand what I mean? It's there, and you can see it in people. You know,
and so you can see
and if you're an old soul.
Yeah, you can see that in Linda. Then you can look at Linda and pick those things up from her right away.
Oh yeah, right away.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, and that's
Jillian too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can understand what you're saying, because I remember as a child going to a Navajo Hogan, and the memory was a woman handing me some food, and she asked me a series of questions, and one of them was, "What do you feel?" And I said, "I feel home." This was home.
Nice.
And that was, and I still remember that. I feel home.
I love it. Yes. Oh yes. So past life issues have a lot to do with people's journeys. There's reasons why you cross paths with people in spiritual path. You're gonna learn something, or you're gonna have an experience, one or the other.
Yeah.
One or the other.
And I think I had a question, because you called, or Kat called you called yourself an ancestral shaman. And I wanted to know the difference between a shaman and an ancestral shaman.
Shamans are shamans. Any shaman that can work with the elements outdoors, call forth for the doors to open for something to come in to serve a purpose at the moment they're doing their ceremony, is a shaman. The fire element, the water element, the air, anything dealing with the natural parts of nature is a shaman. It's how they connect with the energies of creation determines what path of shaman they can be. They come in many forms.
And how much do ancestrals and connecting with ancestry, or the energy, the spirits of ancestors, how much does that play a part in what you do?
A big part. If you don't know who your ancestors are, that's okay. Anything that you feel connected to, trust it. If you haven't done a DNA, that's not even important. If your mom told you one thing, or your father, you can have one picture of a grandmother, one little picture of somebody you may know, and even ones you don't know. Little by little, they may not come like you expect them to, but little things you're going to notice like you never noticed before. You're going to notice that they're going to start to come give you signs, whether it be animals or omens or birds or whatever. Little things are going to change in your environment that you never noticed before. And then you're going to start having that connection. Then you're going to find out which one it is. Then they're going to help you navigate through certain situations, you know, and it becomes beautiful. Now, they don't stop the unexpected from coming. They can warn you a little bit. And I mean, things happen in life. It does. But when you have that connection through them, it's so nice to know that they help you.
Yeah,
do.
And
it don't matter where you come from.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't matter what background. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Remember, for me, I was going through a really tough period in my life, darkness like you had. And a song came to me, and I would sing this song, and it was a chant that went over, you know, repetitive chant. Didn't know where it came from. And when I was at the Hopi Reservation, I was singing it to myself for some reason, absentmindedly. And they stopped me and said, "Where did you learn that?" And I said, "Just came to me. And what does it mean anything?" And they said, "The words that you're saying are calling ancestors. And depending on how you sing, it's to call to battle or to call to support."
Wow.
Nice. And the confidence was there. And you trust them because they made their presence known, and it makes you feel so was love.
It is. It's one of the
Oh,
most
yeah.
comforting songs that I can do. And if I feel like I need to go into battle, I do. I sing it in a different way than
Wow.
then
Nice.
it's like calling all angels, calling all ancestors to surround me in love. That's a completely different way of
Yes.
singing
Yes. And it makes a difference. It
it.
changes your whole perspective of how you live your life.
It does.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
And I
love
think there's a
I love
peace that
it.
comes around for all of us, understanding that we have that deeper connection. I have people in my life that don't feel they have that connection, and that disconnect makes it so lonely. So
Well, pain.
incredibly lonely. And having that
Yeah.
connection, it doesn't matter if you're
Mhm.
alone, you're not lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's good about it too? I love it when you go to sleep at night and you'll have a dream with them, or somebody will come forward, or they'll show you something. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you call
Yeah.
and create that
Oh,
better
yeah.
connection? What would you recommend for people?
I recommend for people to create a special prayer. Create something that you know that you're comfortable with and you're feeling in your soul. Create a special prayer to bring them forward. And take your time when you create it. Don't rush that. Take your time and create something that's in your heart that when you do your special prayer to them, you'll get your response. It doesn't have to be right away, but they will come. And take your time, because those prayers for the ancestors that you create are very, very powerful. So take your time, feel it, sit with them in meditation, and your grounding or rebalancing ritual, and write down things that you're feeling in your soul. And then take your time and figure a way to call them. Some people put a drum song on, the drums in the background, you know, or Native American drum or African drum, or some have bells ringing, you know, or little shakers. Whatever you feel that's going to have you connect with them. And once you have that particular sacred, it's beautiful.
So that repetitive ritual in combination with the prayer is important.
Yes. Now remember, in some of the cultures, they have called the ancestors 13 times or 14 times or 11 times. Some people have the numbers that they have to call that person so many times. Each tradition is different. I like for people to create their own if they're not in a tradition, you know. So there's different methods, you know, different methods.
So I wanted to hop in and talk a little bit also about, I love where this conversation is going, because it's revolving around, again, this empowerment piece, and how for people to take the power into their own hands and make it their own.
Yes.
And I still want to be able to, like, you know, talk about some of the voodoo, just demystifying it. And I want to be able to talk about, like, let's talk about possession and what that means.
Okay.
Is possession and channeling the same thing? Is
Yeah.
possession and channeling
Okay.
in this
To
context?
me, channeling is a formal word.
Is a formal word?
Formal.
Formal, okay.
A formal word for possession. That's my personal take on it. But some people, when they hear the drums, they have to be careful, because automatically that spirit comes and they want to do the work. And in some particular spiritual houses, when a person has a spirit come that fast, they try to find out who it is and how they can work with it.
Mm-hmm.
They try to find out who it is.
So let's talk
or
about
what message they have to say.
Let's talk about the function of it in terms of the voodoo religion. What is the purpose of calling in, going into ritual, calling in a spirit to be taken over? Why is that important or meaningful? What's the function of it?
It's like when they cross over to come through you, they're coming. It is important that they serve their purpose to tell you a message, or give you a healing, or to say, you need to do this and this and that, or this and that is happening. They're coming to do their work. They're coming to do their work.
Is it the orishas that are coming through, or is it other spirits? Because I know there's orishas and there's like servant spirits, and the servant spirits can be good or bad, depending on.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, They have some things called misas, like a little prayer circle. They do prayers, and people bring the spirits through that way. And then they have drummings, and it depends on which person is hosting. It depends on which person is hosting and who shows up. Each thing is different. Like me, I'm supposed to, it's different, but each section is different. It's different.
So they could be
some
calling
hosts
in
drummings for the Orishas only. Some do it for the Orishas only.
Okay.
Yes. But if a spirit shows up, they address it to see what's going on.
Okay.
And some are for the egg, the spirits. You know what I mean? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question with that. So are there such things in the faith that there are evil spirits and good spirits? Is it just spirits, period? There's no good or evil?
Remember, this is why it's important.
Entities, anything
good question.
like that.
Yes. There are some times when things have come down and right away, the priests act on it right away because it could be a dark entity. And if it's affecting that person's livelihood or if it's dangerous, they come in and they get it out of there. Now, remember, some people have warriors and stuff coming down. Warriors, strong Orishas coming down. They know who it is by the actions of that particular spirit, by the way it behaves. But if something dark or evil comes in, right away, they know it. And they take charge of the situation and dispel it. And get that person to safety and do what they have to do to make sure that that thing is gone and that that person is getting consecration, getting cleansed right away.
So is this kind of... Oh, go ahead, Jillian. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to ask, if something evil does come in, or if there's evil energy or spirit coming in, what's the process of getting rid of that?
Well, each spiritual house have a method. Either the head lady, the ladies, the priestesses, or the babalaos, or whoever's there, they'll come together and get that thing. They'll capture it. They'll take the person to a safe area outside the circle or outside the drummers, and they'll start getting it out of there. Some people use covers. Some use water sprays. They have things that they'll do or certain things they'll say or certain prayers to get them out of there. Depends on the circumstance. Yeah. That's why it's you got to be careful, especially if you're sensitive. Like me, if I hear Native American drums somewhere, forget it. I'm gone. I can ground myself, but I love it.
Yeah.
Dancing. Is it crazy? Like, I start, my thing, but because I love it. But anybody that could take that inside their soul is a very old soul, especially old souls. People have lived many lifetimes. Boom. They're some of the best channelers out there. Those who are old souls, because they come in and out of lifetimes. So they can come in, pass through, do the messages, do the healing. Yeah. Speak.
When you experience that, do you remember what's coming through? Because when I work with clients, there's a lot of times I don't remember any of what I've said to them. And to me, that's a really significant.
If it's in a little controlled environment, sometimes yes. When it's in a controlled environment, if it's a small circle or something, the spirit will come through and say, yeah, sometimes I remember most of it. But if it's in a whole nother genre or a whole nother energy, sometimes no. It depends on the circumstances at the moment.
And are you, I want to kind of clarify, because there with the whole possession thing, the thing where there are spirits coming through and it's like, oh, we don't know if it's good or bad yet. We need to test the waters. Oh, we know this is an Orisha because
the way they move. There's certain movements and there's certain things they may say. Remember, once those portals are open, once those doors are open.
Are you seeing it psychically? Because you're saying the way they move and what they say. Well,
each Orisha has a certain movement that is known to the practitioner.
Okay.
Like the way it'll come in, the way it moves. That they'll know.
It's a psychic relationship. Energy. It's a psychic relationship between the practitioner and the Orisha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. And then, so when because this is how I'm trying to put the pieces together.
Mhm.
When the Babalawo is talking to their person and they are giving them a reading like, oh, here are the spirits that are aligned to you right now, that's when a negative one could come through, because it's like, oh, because it's like we're checking out who are the spirits that are aligned to you. It's, oh, could be a negative one that's aligned to you coming through. Is that
Well,
what that
remember,
is covered, or?
it depends on each circumstance at the time. When you seeing the Babalawo, remember your window of your life is open.
Right,
They do
yeah.
certain prayers, and then whoever is with you or bringing you to the circumstance, that's when everything is being revealed to you on your journey. And there are some people, it's just not what to say. They tell them something. They say this journey is not for you. You're in that particular journey, and that's it.
So when would these
And some
people
people don't have
encounter?
anybody defending them.
So when is the instances when? So some people have. What'd you say?
There are people who have nobody defending them at all.
Oh,
None. No,
So-
no one.
so is that when you invoke somebody and you ask somebody to show up
No.
for them?
No. There's what they would say, that whatever method the Babalawo chooses to reveal to someone, they said, as of now, no one's coming forward. But if you want to wait 6 months from now, come back. We'll see who steps up. So whatever that person's going through in their life at the moment, it's heavy, it's deep. For nobody to stand for you, it's scary to have no one stand for you. Who are you? What are you doing? What are you? What type of activity? But what do you? You know what I'm saying?
So these people. So
For nobody to
these.
stand for you is very scary.
So when nobody is to stand for you, you're speaking of the Orishas.
Yes,
Like
or
all
the ancestors.
All the Orishas are like,
If
nope,
the ancestors aren't
turn
standing
back.
for you, no,
Or the
the ancestors ain't showing up either.
or the ancestors. So
Nobody.
this is the Orishas or the ancestors.
Nobody.
Everyone's kind of turned their back because they're
Nobody.
like, they're cray cray
Yes.
right now. We are not going to support them. Is that basically?
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you're totally out of alignment with
Yes.
the higher powers.
Yes.
The higher self.
Yes. And there's something underneath the surface there. Underneath the surface there that's not in the clean state, or their soul, or whatever's going on with that person, but no one to defend you at all. It's
So
very scary.
It's almost like that's like the wake up call. It sounds like that's kind of like the 2x4 to the head, being like, what are you doing that's so offensive that these people can't even stand your vibration to hang out and be with you in any supportive capacity? Like, you are stinking up the room. What are you doing? That's how I interpret that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Or maybe they just took a life. And the body's in the back car or something. Or you never know. All kinds come through, and for nobody to defend, not one soul defend you in your lifetime at this moment. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, that's definitely a kick to the head, saying, look at yourself. So I want to talk also, and give us a breakdown then on Voodoo Dolls. Like, let us know what Voodoo Dolls are really about. And then also, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're just being real about it.
Okay, sure. Okay. Now, depending on what the energy is going to be, a voodoo doll is a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
It could be used as a protection piece to catch magic. Some people have the dolls that have a little bell on it. And if you're sleeping and that bell rings, somebody's up doing a work. If the doll falls over, they're coming for you.
So it means
depending on.
Go ahead. So it kind of
different avenues. Go ahead.
So you're saying, oh, keep doing it. I'm just gonna go. So the voodoo doll, you can make your own voodoo doll. That's kind of your protection doll, and how your doll is responding to whatever stimulus. It's like the bell goes off, someone's doing a spell against you. Your voodoo doll fell over, and so it's out of nowhere. It wasn't the wind.
That there's some energies. Yeah, there's certain things it's going to do to. It's like an alarm bell, like a fire alarm.
Yes. Okay.
Like fire alarm. It depends on what you want the doll for. The dangerous side is making dolls and the images of people that you don't like.
Exactly, right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be a boomerang. If this is the doll that you don't like, and you're doing something to this doll, right? It hits the doll, you can have a stroke, a heart attack, die, because you don't know what energy this person's working with.
Well, also,
So
wouldn't
it could be a
that we-
double-edged sword.
Wouldn't it also be if we are all connected and we're all one, which is my belief that what you do to another, you do to yourself?
Yes, yes. And if you hate a person this much, and there are people in the world like, okay, you know how they have the mafia hitmen? They pay hitmen to kill their enemies, the hitmen. Well, there are people in spiritual practices that are hitmen. They're just not using a gun.
Yeah.
Okay. So they could be hired to do a spell and kill somebody through a spell, but they also run the
Example.
risk if you had all your Orishas, had their swords out, and when they did that, then that's when it could boomerang, come back on them, because that person's spiritual tribe is not going to receive the spell. They're going to counter it. And am I following
That's why
correctly?
caution. Yes. Well, see, okay. Example: a lady went to someone because her 2 children were being sexually violated. The person was not prosecuted. It was a disaster. Well, anyway, she went to this person, blah, 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 children. Okay, give me $10,000. They died Friday.
Mm-hmm.
There are people like that in the world. It's
Yeah.
up to the individuals. What you do with your sacred energy is up to the individual.
And those people
And
who
remember,
are,
it's not just the person that did it, but remember the intention you put in.
Oh yeah, you're just as responsible. It's your hands are bloody as well. Did you have a question, Jillian? I saw your hand go up.
No, I was just fixing my hair from my wind machine.
Oh.
Okay, goddess.
Right. So did you have any questions around that, Linda?
Remember,
Go ahead.
questions, Linda?
No, go ahead. What were you going to say? And I probably will, but go ahead.
When you make something, anything you make spiritual, whatever energy you put into that, ask yourself the question: is it necessary? Do you need it? What purpose is it going to serve? Is it going to harm? Is it going to bring? Is it going to protect? What use is it going to be for you to make it? Is it worth the time? What are you learning? And you never know what comes to the doll. You could be sleeping one day and that child could be break dancing on top of your bed. Hey, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. So everybody's different in their particular practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember in my 20s, someone literally cursing me. And I thought it was a bunch of bunk until everything kept falling apart over and over and over again. And I remember I finally started doing things where I would send it, whatever was sent to me, I would send back.
Yes.
Because it's like tenfold, whatever you do, get it back
Yes.
so you can understand what you're doing. What do you recommend if you feel like that's happening?
Great question.
Okay.
Great question.
Some curses, I believe, could be past life related with that person. Just things that happen and you wonder why they're coming to you. Now, as far as curses is concerned, to me, step back, do nothing, ask your ancestors to come forward and show you what to do, and can they help you to break it? So take your time. If things start going haywire and you know it's unnatural, step back from your magic, step back from yourself, and go inside your spirit and search out what you need to do to shift that energy, because it's got to go somewhere. Find out how you can navigate through the words that say, or whatever was done, so you can disperse that energy. And take your time, give yourself at least 3 days to discern about handling the situation. Because some people, they get angry and they don't realize what they say because they're so angry and they got that energy flowing. They're so mad and they start doing these, the clueless, don't realize what they're putting out there. So if it's hitting you with, so develop a method of defense. Develop a defense system for yourself daily. Daily. Find a defense system for you that whatever shield you're developing, when they start hitting those curses, the energy could be around you, but it does not touch you.
And do you feel like that? Because I mean, Linda has
Take your
this.
time creating one.
Linda has this really great phrase, your stuff, my stuff, your stuff, my stuff. And I feel like, like even having a mantra like that is like a way to,
Yes.
It's like, it's an automatic, it's like, it's a defense, but it's a boundary. If you think of it as a boundary versus like, I'm defending, like you don't have to be in an attack position. You can have a very strong boundary.
Right.
And that is your defense, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. And you're going to know it. You're going to know it. Spiritual people who are really connected to the divine and trusted, they show you everything. And even when you wake up in your dream, when you go to sleep, waking up in your dream in the circumstance is powerful too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite things to either do physically or just in my head is the my stuff, your stuff, my stuff, your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it works. It works.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Like,
and you feel the clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah, that's true. I love it.
great.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, I want to get to the last kind of, at least for me, the big topic in terms of with voodoo and understanding how it works. Zombies. Tell us about zombies and how that originated and what that's about.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I said something one time in one of my books which was so stupid about zombies. There are things that happened in history with that issue that is deep stuff about zombies.
Okay.
And it's dangerous. And my heart bleeds for any soul, anybody that is in a state of physical existence and the consciousness is gone. Now, some say heroin does it, opioids do it, but when it comes down to the spiritual aspect of that, that is scary, very scary. Now, rumor has it that there's a few things that's going on with that in certain parts of the world. But
well, what is it? How does it work? What is
dangerous.
it and how does it work first? Let us know that.
For what I understand, there's a certain fish that has certain stuff in it. They use something from a puffer fish. And it's some type of toxin that you have to be careful using it. And that type of knowledge has to be passed down to someone to do something like that. I'm sure they exist, but to play with the poisons like that and toxins and creating a zombie, it's scary. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to know how to do it.
Right. But what's the purpose for it? Why? What does it do? What does it do? And what's the purpose?
Well, from what I understand, it's to control a person's actions and to do certain things.
Is that person dead? Is that person who's a zombie? Are they dead? Did they go through or are they still alive, but their mind's no longer there? It's like, what is it?
They're functioning and they're not here spiritually because they can't talk to us like we're talking. And they only respond to what somebody's telling them to do.
So is their consciousness outside of their body? Like, has their consciousness been
maybe
separated from their body, but their body's still alive and breathing? Like their body's still pumping blood and they're taking in oxygen, but their consciousness is no longer in control anymore.
With them. Right.
Okay.
Right. And there were some horror stories about that. People being slaves and working. I mean, even having them people in modern times working in the fields and doing drugs. So, it's deep stuff. that's why I tell young women when they travel certain places, these young pretty women that go to these places, to be careful, to be very careful visiting this person, and because they're missing, in an island somewhere and being used as a sex slave or something of this nature, they're gone, and they can't, and to the land of no return.
So is that so?
They're
It's
bad
done
people,
with.
they're all good people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. So I just want to say, like, the toxin is the toxin. It's a toxin and a spell combined. The toxin's part of a spell. The toxin is programmed with a spell for a specific, what I would
Yes.
call a spell. Maybe a voodoo practitioner wouldn't say spell; they might say something else. But like some sort of magic is imbued in the toxin
Yes.
to elicit this control. Is that correct?
And it takes them into another dimension, like the Twilight Zone.
Okay.
For them to enter that dimension for it to
So, yeah, it kind of kicks them out of their body. What I'm getting from it is it kicks them out of their body, and it makes, but their brain is still accessible and programmable from another place.
Yeah, and that's why people shouldn't do drugs. I mean, to each his own. You smoke weed, to each his own. But some people that do drugs and play with magic, it's like a napalm bomb cocktail.
Yeah, they're playing with
not knowing
dynamite.
it can go left. Yeah.
Interesting. And so
Yeah.
so it was done specifically for control, and it is really black magic in terms of negative magic.
Yes.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
probably one of the higher forms of negative. That and being an assassin, I would think those have to really rank up there with like dark, like
Well, there's
heavy.
some magic. There's some magic that's so dark that wipe out whole families. Some people
Wipe
go
out
around
whole families.
they go around the world and they get stuff going. It's remember, we have light and shadow, dark, light, shadow. What you do with your energy is up to the individual. But caution, you have to be careful when we are walking in the world of twilight. If you're walking in twilight.
What do you think the cosmic repercussions of that are on a soul for doing that?
You don't exist and you may not come back again. I think you disperse. Sooner or later you disperse.
The person who's doing the magic, or the person who's been possessed? Who's dispersed? Both?
Yeah. It only, remember, the universe allows you a certain amount of time to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to last a certain amount of time, the practitioner knows that sooner or later their number will be up. And it may not come for where they think it will, their body just disperse. The body can only handle so much stuff, so much pain, and spirit will leave it. But when you got magic involved with it, it can go left at any time. At any time, it can go left, and you're gone.
Well, and I wonder, you say soul dispersed. I don't know what that like.
Your energy of yourself. It's like how you see the show with a vampire zap the person and they go up.
Well, does
that what happens to them?
Because that I guess on a fundamental level,
it's just they'll die. They'll die in such a state where that part of them, the essence of their existence, their soul source, just goes into like it dissipates. It's gone. It's no more.
Does it go into the universe? Because nothing can really be destroyed.
Nowhere. It just you see firecrackers, throw a firecracker,
right,
like that.
Right. But I just feel like
similar.
Go ahead, Linda.
I was just going to say, I think that our Kat and I both have this. What? Because I think, yes. Because
yes.
I think our thoughts are, at least my thoughts are, that we are energy, and energy always exists. But what I think I'm hearing you say is that which we identify ourselves as a soul or as our essence from life to life, that dissipates, and maybe it's not an either or, maybe that dissipates and goes into the
Source energy.
ether, and sucks up into the other energy, but we that repeats is no longer repeating.
Right.
Am I getting it right?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Because remember, you've already altered the person's soul existence with a chemical and also with magic.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens?
If you're the victim of that, why would you also be dissipated, not just as your body dies, you are?
Well, it depends. It depends on the circumstances. It can happen. Some people come back fine. Some people get help, but sooner or later, there's nobody else is guiding it. So depending on the person's life path journey, whether they survive it or not, it depends. Some people don't come back, some do. And sometimes they just die. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would think that
It's,
I mean, I would hope that there's I would hope that their souls of the victim would at least stay intact because they weren't the one working the magic. They were but I mean, and then in the end, we all do go back to source, but we definitely want to continue our soul's mission and complete that. I think that's interesting. I'm not sure how souls are birthed and how they're created and whatnot, but I think that's another fascinating conversation to have on another time. But I think
now I know of people that if you mention that to them, they get very, very angry, so I don't ask about it, but I have heard some things that was just scary, I felt bad for the victim,
Yeah, well, it sounds horrific.
I hope any more questions? You have any more questions you want to ask me? I hope I was able to.
No, I think that was great. I think that was wonderful. Did you guys have any final questions from the audience, maybe Linda, or?
I think I've been asking them along the way.
Oh, great.
And what I really appreciate over and over again, Laura, is that you're bringing people back into their own power. Like all these things happen in the dark. It seems like the darker parts of it are when you release your power to someone else, or you are having that taken from you. But being centered, being grounded, being connected, calling on your ancestors, calling on those energies, that faith that you have to protect you, keep you safe, do the right thing.
And take your time, let them ground, let them show you. Just go slow, go slow. Take time.
I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. Thank you so much. Peace and love to you. Blessings.
You're not out yet.
And your ancestors.
You're not out yet.
Oh,
you're not out yet.
Okay.
Give me a second. Jillian, did you have any other questions?
Jillian?
I've loved listening to all these different perspectives and just things that my mind doesn't normally go to. And it's just been an absolute honor to listen to you and talk to you and have all these new concepts coming into my mind.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
May I say something to each of you before I go?
Yeah, and before you do that though, let me just do my little closing bit, and then I'm going to give you the final mic. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
It's okay. So with our friend Laura here is also giving a special out, and so if you would like to do this, special is only going to go between the 2nd and 5th of July. That's a time span, so it's a 30-minute reading for $50. And you mentioned Third Eye Salon. Reach out to Laura. We have her website info in our little description box below. So reach out to Laura if you mentioned Third Eye Salon. It is a 30-minute reading for $55 between the 2nd and 5th of July.
Just 50.
Yeah, that's what I said, 50. Does it sound weird?
Just 50.
You said 55 the second time.
Yeah.
Oh, 55? Sorry, 50. Thank you for that, $50. And then I want to make sure that we do know that we've got all of our links down below that we'd like for you to go check out and support and join us. And then also thanks to their live stream chatters. Were there any live stream chatters that you wanted to give a shout out to, Miss Linda?
Oh my gosh, all of our regulars. But we had somebody named Joshua who's new, who gave us a lot of side insight that seemed to have a really good understanding and was very much in agreement with what you were saying. So it was nice that we had that little side conversation going for clarity as you were talking. So
Nice.
I think
That's
it's
awesome.
great. And I hope that you join our Facebook group if you aren't already, Laura, so that if people have questions, they can continue this
Oh, yeah.
conversation.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, please do join us. And then Christina, wow, good job. Christina Del Rosario is going to be our guest next week. She is a Sasquatch experiencer as well as a cancer experiencer who is having this ongoing spiritual awakening journey right now. I met her at the Sasquatch family reunion, so she's coming on next week. That's going to be awesome. And again, we just ask that you share our content on your social media and let people know about what's happening here so we can just build and grow our community. And again, thanks to all of our salon members that have been on. I'm sure it's the usual suspects, probably Carla, Laura,
Yes.
and there's like a handful of other Sharon. And so thank you all for being here. And Miss Laura, what else would you like to say? How would you like to end the show today?
Well, I want to say to Miss Linda, there's a very famous Indian lady, I think it's white buffalo calf woman. And for some reason, if you get a chance to look her up and what she did for her people, you and her, to me, are like the same person. And she's revered amongst the Native Americans. If you look, and I don't know what it is, but you and her, to me, are one. Because she came to her people with messages, and she came to give them guidance. And you're such, you float through the essences and bringing like the light and healing of people that were sick and stuff, and all the smallpox and what was happening, and release them into the ethers so they wouldn't suffer.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, like that was in, you were that type of person in many lifetimes, and in this lifetime you're doing it on another level. Does that make sense?
Thank you. I will take that in completely and appreciate that. I do have memories of being a healer, and actually one of my memories is not being able to find the herbs needed to heal from something like smallpox, killing the whole village.
Yeah.
And I was so distraught, I threw myself off a cliff, and it took me days to die.
Oh,
So,
God.
Yeah.
Oh, God, Linda.
Very
That
powerful.
sucks.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's okay. But you
But
can't
take it very, I
you-
take that very seriously, and I do feel
Yeah,
that
it's deep.
that's been a long
Powerful.
lineage for me. Thank you.
It is beautiful. Jillian, you know, people, I don't like those shows where they kill witches, you know, but you are the good witch.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that.
You know,
Yeah.
but your powers, they come from your father's side, not your mother's side.
Mm-hmm. I can
Very,
understand
very,
that.
and you know the people that make those people that make the faces in the trees. They make the face in the tree to represent a certain mystical person or a certain deity. They create the face in the tree, and they put the fairies there, and they make a fairy garden, and then they make the face in the trees. That's who your people are. So I don't know.
Is it like the Green Man? Like that?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
That's
Laura
it.
Holland, if you're
The Green
watching
Man.
this, take note.
Yes.
We have a
But you
big
may have
team.
to, but that's gonna be your project. That's the project they want you to start. They want you to make your Green Man. But it's not just to carve it, to work it and carve it on your own.
Right.
And they're gonna bring you to the tree you're supposed to make it on.
Nice. Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome. That's big. That's significant with my life, actually. We my
Very
friends
powerful.
and I, my friends and I have been watching a series called Hellier. And a big part of it is the green man. And as soon as you started saying that, because I really latched onto that series. It's paranormal and investigative and this and that.
Yeah.
So that really.
And you have
I
to make your
think
own fairy door. You have to build
Yes.
your own fairy door.
Oh, yeah.
You have to
I
make
love
your
all
own.
that.
You can't go buy one. You
Yeah.
can't go buy one. You have to make it from scratch.
Yeah. Oh,
Make
I'll do
sense?
that. Oh, for sure. For sure.
And
Thank
Laura's
you.
all in.
Is she
And last but
excited?
not least, our king of healing here, Kat. Kat, you are you're so powerful, Kat, that you don't understand how powerful you are. This is just a little pinch of it. And see, you astral travel, and you always astral travel, not just in this lifetime, but you go to your past for your future.
Okay.
And this one helps you do your show because of your past lives. And you were so fortunate in your past lives that you escaped a lot of tragedy. And this is why your heart is so open, because you saw so much tragedy in your past lives as a healer and as a seer, that in this lifetime, you were able to give your heart fully.
Wow. That's a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, because you astral travel, but you astral travel differently than most people. You're able to go in out of portals. You can go inside portals and stuff and come out safely. Some people can't do that. You're a portal. You travel. You jump through those portals. You come back in this dimension, and you go into another portal. You're like a shapeshifter of light. You can shapeshift light.
Wow. Damn. Well, that's really cool. Like, I feel like I certainly don't do that consciously, but that resonates in terms of that doesn't sound foreign to me at the same time. Like
Okay.
that sounds
Okay, good.
it's not something that I consciously know of doing, but at the same time, the whole world of magic is that just makes sense in terms of me being able to morph and change. I would say that's an alignment with me. So
Yes, but you do it with love.
yeah. Oh
Love.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I
Support.
probably, as an asshole in other lifetimes, but this time I've got it together. So I'm going to thank you so much, Laura. I'm going to pass the baton to Linda to close us out, because she's got the link to close the show.
I have the magic power for once. I feel
once.
so powerful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
I thank you, Laura, for spending so much
Thank
generous
you.
time with us.
Thank you.
Answered so many questions and really appreciate you. Appreciate everyone that has joined us in the chat and who will join us in the future. We are indebted to your grace in being with us. And
we're family. We're family.
We love our family. Yes, we have a cosmic family here that is just growing tighter and bigger and amazing. And thank you for joining us. We will see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Peace
you.
and love.
Remember,
Ashe. Blessings and light and love.
Remember
Take
to
care,
take
everyone.
advantage. Thank you.
Yes.
Take advantage.
And remember,
of the offer.
become your own best healer.
That is wonderful. Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
We'll talk to
everyone.
you next week.
Take care.